Most of you aren't subscribed. Make sure to subscribe, as it helps out the channel. Without further ado, the anime opens with our MC Aizawa Azusa, a 27-year-old corporate slave working her life away without experiencing any romantic relationships. But suddenly one day Azusa collapsed due to overworking. Appearing before a goddess as a yellow orb, the goddess feels bad for Azusa, offering Azusa a carefree life with an immortal body. Reminding Azusa that mana will be used in her new world, the goddess sends Azusa off into the highlands, starting her off with a 17-year-old body. Having been dropped into a new world, Azusa is amazed she can read this world's language, spotting a home that is vacant and free to live in. Admiring her new body, Azusa says she looks like a witch, exploring the home only to spot a field and a village nearby. Having been given a weapon and some coins, Azusa heads out, only to run into a slime. Unsheathing her sword, Azusa slashes at the slime, but the creature simply evades, retaliating with an attack but does no damage to Azusa. Going all out, Azusa slays the slime, only to notice a gem drop from it. Heading to the nearby village, Azusa learns the village is named Flata, instructed to visit the nearby Adventurers Guild for work. Greeting the receptionist, Azusa learns that Flata village is quite peaceful, with only slimes roaming the area. The receptionist tells Azusa that the gems she acquired are magical stones and can be exchanged for money, but first the receptionist checks Azusa's stats. Azusa confirms that she has the witch class with a level of 1, but the receptionist points out how lucky it is to have immortality at such a low level. Just like that, Azusa's life consists of her taking it easy, starting each day by sleeping in only to tend to her fields. When she needs exercise, she slays slimes, aiming for 25 every day, and visits the forest occasionally to acquire the exact herbs she needs, thanks to her witch skill, only to sell them to the nearby village. After indulging in the laid-back life for 300 years, Azusa is seen tapping the slimes, curious as to how strong she's grown over time. Heading into town, Azusa is well known by everyone, having frequently treated patients with her medicine and even fighting off a plague that struck the town. Grateful to be given so much attention, Azusa exchanges her magical stones, only to be asked by the receptionist Natalie how strong she is. Having not checked in 300 years, Azusa chooses to evaluate her stats, shocking Natalie when she sees Azusa is level 99. Refusing to believe she's grown so strong by defeating mere slimes, Natalie points out Azusa has an ability that boosts her experience points earned, explaining how Azusa acquired over 10 million points over time. This is equivalent to 4,380 dragons slayed, meaning Azusa must be the strongest in the world. But Azusa states she doesn't want this attention ruining her peaceful life. Azusa asks Natalie to promise not to leak her status to anyone, heading to a nearby waterfall, only to freeze the entire location with a single ice spell. Forced to accept her insane growth, Azusa uses ice and fire magic to freeze and thaw meals, but one day suddenly gets a knock at the door. Spotting 4 adventurers outside, Azusa is petrified to hear them call her the level 99 witch, failing to come up with an excuse to convince them otherwise. With no other choice, Azusa takes the 4 all at once, drawing a circle and asking them to leave quietly once they lose. Seeing the enemy casting a wind spell, Azusa attempts to mimic the spell, but accidentally unleashes a devastating tornado that ends their duel. Rushing to the guild, Azusa asks if Natalie had leaked her true level, learning that Ernst the adventurer was the one who eavesdropped and leaked their earlier conversation. With word of Azusa's level spreading, Azusa is visited by the most powerful dragon of Nanterre, Laika, who challenges Azusa to a duel. When Azusa refuses, Laika threatens to rampage and destroy everything, forcing Azusa to accept. With Azusa donning her witch clothing, she takes flight to match Laika's wings, prompting Laika to unleash a fiery breath, only to be cancelled out by Azusa's ice magic. Impressed, Laika dashes forward clawing at Azusa, but upon seeing Laika trying to fire off another breath, Azusa simply freezes Laika's mouth. Falling out of the sky, Laika runs around mindlessly, accidentally destroying Azusa's house, forcing Azusa to knock Laika down with a single punch. Glaring at Laika, Azusa orders Laika to repair her house, something Laika agrees to do, asking for permission to retrieve funds from where they live. With Azusa warning Laika to not lie to her, Laika hurriedly flies off, leaving Azusa to head into town, seeing as her house is destroyed. As the town praises Azusa for fending off a dragon, Azusa chooses to stay at the Flata village office, thankful to be given the guest house. Azusa realizes the girl serving her was a young girl she saved in the past, choosing to accept the town's kindness and head to the Keen Eagle restaurant. Warmly greeted by the townsfolk, Azusa orders her usual omelet and beef stew, enjoying the delectable meal as the town celebrates Azusa the Great Witch of the Highlands. Waking up the next day, Azusa receives a visitor, asking who the redhead before her is, only to be stunned realizing Laika has changed into her human form. With Azusa confirming that Laika has indeed repaid her debt, Laika shyly asks to be Azusa's pupil, horrifying Azusa as she only got so strong fighting lowly slimes. Laika states she was naive to claim herself as the strongest, wishing to work diligently like Azusa and grow stronger. Azusa realizes that Laika could take over the cooking and cleaning, immediately taking Laika as her pupil, learning that Laika was born 300 years ago as well. Returning to her destroyed home, Azusa notes how they should expand to fit more people, prompting Laika to take over as she carries over some resources, immediately working on the overall foundation and structure of their new house. As it gets dark, Laika says she'll work all night and finish in the morning, but Azusa stops Laika, demanding Laika to not overexert herself. Touched by Azusa's words, Laika is grateful to her master, both clocking out for the day, only to return in the coming days to finish up. With Azusa amazed by Laika's hard work, they rush into town to celebrate, all whilst Azusa thinks about her new life with her first pupil. With Azusa taking Laika with her to slay slimes, Laika is amazed at Azusa's speed when dispatching slimes, but is disappointed to hear Azusa only takes down slimes to train. Azusa scolds Laika for wanting to fight stronger enemies in order to boast about it, reminding Laika to take things one step at a time. But as the two collect the magical stones, a mysterious girl glares at Azusa from the forest. As the two head home, Laika offers to cook Azusa a meal, shocking Azusa seeing the plus-size dishes. As the two dig in, Azusa says they'll rotate chores, asking Laika if she has any questions for her, intrigued to hear Laika fears for the nearby village. Laika says she fears an evil mage or other monsters attacking the village will be more likely, especially since Azusa's mighty status will draw in others across the world, making the village one of Azusa's weak points. Laika suggests that they create their own magic, both heading to a cliff only for Laika to draw up a magic circle for Azusa to use. Positioning herself in the middle of the magic circle, Azusa infuses the circle with her mana, casting a powerful barrier over the nearby village. In an instant, Azusa's spell catches a thief, shocking the townsfolk as they celebrate another heroic feat by Azusa. Azusa also takes the chance to introduce Laika the dragon to the villagers, all welcoming Laika wholeheartedly. As we cut to several days later, where Laika has perfectly picked up Azusa's carefree habits. Sadly, Azusa hears a knock at the door, spotting a small girl claiming Azusa to be her mother. Revealing her name to be Falfa, Falfa mentions that her younger sister had done her research into Azusa, but Laika is more fixated on Azusa's love life. Hearing Falfa mention her sister is hunting Azusa down, Laika invites Falfa in, serving her some cookies only to ask for the name of Falfa's sister. Revealed to be Shalsha, Falfa adds that Shalsha has a grudge against Azusa since Azusa has been slaying her kind. Azusa asks if Falfa is aware of what Shalsha may attack with. Surprised to hear Shalsha is learning Smite evil magic, magic that gets stronger the more specific the target. Laika says it takes decades to master such a spell, confirming that Falfa and Shalsha are both 50 years old, but suddenly Falfa states that Shalsha has appeared. Rushing outside, Azusa makes note of Shalsha's potent aura. Hearing Shalsha declare she'll avenge her own death. Azusa asks to know how she infuriated Shalsha. shocked to hear that Falfa and Shalsha are made from the souls of the slimes Azusa hunts, making the girls slime spirits. Seeing as Shalsha is dead set on fighting Azusa, Laika suggests Azusa blast the girl away with a tornado, but as Azusa casts her wind magic, Shalsha easily disperses the spell. With everyone shocked, Shalsha reveals her smite evil target is specifically the Witch of the Highlands, making Shalsha the perfect counter to Azusa. Getting serious, Azusa combines a red and blue flame, blasting Shalsha with a newly created black flame, but Azusa's magic bounces off Shalsha's body. Falfa mentions how Shalsha has been saving up her mana to ensure she takes out Azusa, but her magic will run out in an hour. But seeing as Shalsha is only after her, Azusa chooses to flee for her life. Sadly, Shalsha negates Azusa's flight magic, preparing a lethal spell all whilst the others watch. With Azusa accepting her demise, Laika transforms, intercepting Shalsha's attack, declaring that no one will touch her master. As both Shalsha and Laika prepare to battle, Laika rushes Shalsha with her claws, surprised to see Shalsha suddenly faint when Laika nudges her. Having brought Shalsha back to her home, Shalsha awakens, disappointed having to rely on her enemy's kindness. Leaping out of bed, Shalsha prepares to strike Azusa down, but realizes she has run out of mana, cursing herself for being so weak. Azusa points out that at least Shalsha will have a reason to live now that Azusa is still alive, confusing Shalsha as to why Azusa would help them. But Falfa finally speaks up. Falfa asks Shalsha to not be so harsh on Azusa, especially since it's human nature to slay slimes, asking Shalsha instead to leave behind her resentment and live her life. Seeing Shalsh finally give up on her revenge schemes, Azusa asks if the girls would like to live with them, ordering Shalsha to first call her mother as well. Wanting to celebrate their new family members, the gang head out to purchase items, learning along the way that evil slimes exist in the world. The sisters utter that the slimes of Nanterre are dark-colored, whereas the slimes in the Highland are pale, mentioning how evil slimes are light in color. The girls also add that all slimes have a weak point, stabbing at a slime hole only to instantly slay it. Finally heading through town, Azusa runs some errands while showing the sisters around, stopping only to quiz the girls on some landmarks. Seeing Falfa easily remembering the landmarks, Laika asks how Shalsha is doing, hearing Shalsha point out the old road that led to the Old Kingdom. Heading home, the gang feast on Laika's plus-sized meals, all praising Laika for the delicious meal. Seeing the sisters abstain from eating their celery, Azusa offers to give them cake later, convincing them otherwise. Glancing at Laika, Azusa calls out Laika for skipping over her celery as well, all ending the night with some chiffon cake. With the sisters given a room to share, Laika suggests that they recruit an elf or demon next, but first Azusa chooses to value their family of four as is. With several nights passing, Azusa watches as the sisters indulge in history books, shocked to see the girls studying elven history. Hearing a knock at the door, Azusa is jealous to see a voluptuous shy elf at the door, hearing that the elf is currently on the run. When the elf asks Azusa to save her from the high demon Beelzebub, Azusa rushes to shut her door, but the elf stops her showering Azusa with praise. Inviting the elf inside, the elf introduces herself as Halkara, an elf from the nation of Hrant, and is also an apothecary, someone who deals with medicine. Azusa wonders what Beelzebub wants with her, learning that Halkara is a renowned apothecary, having invented the Nutri Spirit Energy drink using various mushrooms, even making decent profit with the product. Apparently, one day, Beelzebub herself tried out the energy drink, but fell ill as the energy drink was rumored to be poisonous to demons, and has ever since chosen to hunt down and pay back Halkara for making the concoction. With Halkara begging for Azusa's help, Azusa agrees, giving Halkara the new title of Azusa's second pupil. But first they need to find more fitting clothes for Halkara. Getting to work, Azusa places a protective barrier over their home, serving Halkara a standard meal that brings her to tears. Halkara reveals she had to survive on tree nuts while she was fleeing, grateful to be fed a hearty meal, only to head out to gather herbs with Azusa. Getting to work, Halkara chooses to only pick mushrooms, mentioning how she specializes in mushroom picking, pointing out how to remove the poison from said mushrooms. Heading to a nearby river, the girls grill some of the mushrooms, prompting Halkara to serve them with some fermented soybean sauce, something Azusa notes smells like soy sauce. As the girls indulge in the mushrooms, Azusa mentions how they should bring the others next time, suddenly spotting Halkara acting all giddy. Weirded out, Azusa realizes Halkara ate some poisonous mushrooms, having accidentally mixed one of the herbal mushrooms for an edible one. Sadly, Halkara reveals the side effect of the poisonous mushroom to be stimulation of the body and mind, making her laugh uncontrollably whilst also feeling lewd. Immediately leaping back, Azusa watches as Halkara begs to play, but Azusa instead blasts Halkara with a spell. That night, Halkara serves the others her mushroom dishes, apologizing for her lewdness earlier, but luckily Azusa had blasted Halkara with a neutralizing spell before things got spicy. With everyone appreciating Halkara's mushroom dishes, Azusa takes Halkara to slay some slimes with her, jealous at Halkara's peculiar techniques. Even walking through town, Halkara draws the attention of men, but Azusa finds it weird that the girls are glaring at Halkara, both heading to check out some quests at the guild. Natalie informs the girls that a generous-looking quest was added recently, having been created by Beelzebub herself, and asks for a voluptuous apothecary elf in exchange for 15 million gold. That night, Azusa deduces that Beelzebub putting up the quest must mean she is aware of Halkara's location, asking Laika to evacuate the sisters elsewhere. With Laika and the sisters immediately heading off, Azusa hopes her barrier will buy them some more time, watching as Halkara downs an energy drink to stay active. Azusa scolds Halkara for drinking so many energy drinks and eating dinner without her, but Halkara swears that she did no such thing, both suddenly turning their attention to a strange-looking fly. Azusa remembers Beelzebub is Lord of the Flies, suddenly hearing a demonic voice call out to them, only to watch as the fly transforms into Beelzebub herself. With Halkara immediately bowing her head to submit, Azusa states she knows Beelzebub had lived alongside everyone the same time Halkara moved in, having needed to confirm that Halkara was the apothecary she was looking for. Grabbing onto Halkara, Beelzebub demands Halkara do what she says, but Azusa interjects stating that they should have a duel to settle this dispute. Laughing gleefully, they both agree to head outside, but as Beelzebub spreads her wings, she accidentally flies too high, ultimately getting zapped by Azusa's barrier. Hearing Beelzebub refuse to give up, Azusa suggests that they reschedule their duel, but out of nowhere, Beelzebub begins to quiver, suddenly falling unconscious. Placing her in one of the beds, Azusa prepares a healing spell, wondering if healing magic would work on a demon, but is relieved to see Beelzebub's pain go away. Waking up, Beelzebub thanks Azusa for saving her, asking to have more of Halkara's energy drink when she is better, confusing Azusa. Beelzebub reveals that Halkara's energy drink helped her pull an all-nighter, and it was ultimately her stress that caused her fever, not the drink itself. Additionally, the Nutri-Spirit energy drink is loved by the devil and all demons alike, relieving Halkara, but this news annoys Azusa. The next morning, Halkara explains everything to the others, revealing that she will continue production of her drink in their current province. Hearing that Halkara wants to remain as Azusa's pupil, Azusa has no problem suddenly hearing Beelzebub asking for a rematch when the time comes. Beelzebub says she'll teach Azusa how to summon her, but first teaches the sisters some history on demon society, only to become flustered hearing the sisters asking about Beelzebub's love life. Seeing her family grow, Azusa can't help but feel at home, only to receive some bad news from Laika the next day. Flashing back, we see a younger Laika spending time with a redhead, waking up before she can remember anything else. Following Azusa, she's sad to report she had no love life, disappointing Halkara as she personally deems herself a youthful teen, being only 200 years old. As for Falfa and Shalsha, they both admit that they love Azusa, all sitting down for the breakfast Laika prepared for them. Before they dig in, Laika announces that she'll be returning to her hometown, worrying everyone as they ask to know why. Before Azusa can jump to conclusions, Laika states that she'll be attending her older sister's wedding, inviting everyone to come along. Gladly accepting, they all set off towards Mount Rocco, Laika's hometown. Seeing Halkara being air-sick, they make a pit stop near a river, only to continue their journey only to stop near a volcano. Having arrived at the first venue, the gang are amazed to see a gathering of red dragons. But suddenly, some acquaintances greet Laika, girls that Laika used to go to an all-girls school with. Heading to meet Laika's parents, Halkara accidentally gets mistaken for food, fighting for her life to survive. Reuniting with their daughter, Laika's parents thank Azusa for taking her in, introducing everyone to Layla, Laika's older sister. Halkara takes the chance to ask how Layla fell in love. Happy to hear it took 80 years for Layla to fall in love with her childhood best friend. With Azusa hoping that everything goes well for Layla, a sudden swarm of blue dragons appear, all blasting the surrounding area with their ice breaths. Laika reveals that blue dragons are from the Haint province and have come to crash the wedding, spotting Flatort, renowned as the bully queen of the blue dragons. Flatort voices how jealous she is not to be married even after 400 years, stating that she'll freeze over the nearby volcano. But this forces Laika's father to call for an all-out war. Seeing as it's too dangerous, Azusa suggests that they all flee, spotting Halkara playing dead, but snaps out of it when a dragon approaches. Running through the battlefield, Azusa carves a path for the gang to flee, all whilst Laika and Flatort exchange some insults. Having heard enough, the two begin brawling, all whilst Azusa and the others watch from a safe vantage point. Knowing that she shouldn't intervene in other families' affairs, Azusa chooses to lay low, but upon seeing a blue dragon attempt to freeze them, Azusa switches gears. With a single kick, Azusa sends the stray dragon flying, asking Halkara to take the sisters elsewhere, while she personally assists the red dragons. Following Laika, she and her father seem to be cornered, only to spot a hail of fireballs drawing the surrounding blue dragons elsewhere. Revealed to be Azusa, Azusa makes quick work of a dragon, watching as the surrounding dragons simultaneously unleash their ice breaths. Erecting a fire barrier to defend, Azusa speeds towards the attacking dragons, instantly pummeling them all to the ground. Spotting Flatort nearby, Azusa dashes in for a lethal kick, surprised to see Flatort tank the blow. Seeing Flatort firing off an ice breath, Azusa simply counters with a fireball, followed up with an axe kick that sends Flatort plummeting out of the sky. With the remaining blue dragons fleeing, the red dragons celebrate a successful victory, but Laika remembers that Flatort has still sent a separate force to freeze their nearby volcano. Heading to the nearby hot spring town, Laika is worried the tourists may indirectly get hurt by the dragon's dispute, reassured by Azusa that everything will run smoothly for her sister's wedding. Hearing commotion nearby, our duo rush up some stairs, spotting a flock of blue dragons bound to the ground by some dark magic. Realizing it to be the work of Beelzebub, Beelzebub mentions how she frequents the hot springs in town, annoyed when she stumbled onto some blue dragons threatening to run amok in town. Laika is amazed that Beelzebub bound 5 blue dragons with a single spell, learning that Beelzebub has lived for 3,000 years, reminding Beelzebub of her rematch with Azusa. Azusa takes the chance to thank Beelzebub, flustering her as she's showered with praise, only for the gang to return to the others. With Beelzebub helping to bind the other blue dragons, allowing Laika to order Flatort to return to her human form, handing Flatort a bill to cover all the damages and medical bills for the injured. Seeing Flatort refuse at first, Laika states Flatort will remain bound until she accepts, ultimately forcing Flatort to agree. Additionally, Azusa takes the chance to ask Flatort to sign a treaty for the blue and red dragons to get along, forcing Flatort into submission when Azusa gives off a menacing glare. With Beelzebub personally standing witness to the agreement of the treaty, Flatort feels defeated, exciting Azusa as she graciously thanks Beelzebub with another hug. Moving on to the second party, Azusa notices all the red dragons take their human form, but gets worried seeing Halkara stumbling around with booze in her hands. With Beelzebub joining the conversation, they all watch as Layla and her groom appear, all dazzled by Layla's beauty. Layla is glad to see Laika make so many friends, happy to hear Laika wish her the best, but is more surprised seeing Flatort giving her blessings as well. That night, Azusa and Laika catch some fresh air, leading Laika to request something from Azusa. As Laika rests on Azusa's thighs, she mentions how Layla would also comfort her when her parents scolded her, grateful that Azusa will now take care of Laika in Layla's place moving forward. With both girls returning to the party, they're disappointed seeing Halkara completely sloshed, forcing Beelzebub to hoist her away. Seeing Azusa has returned, Beelzebub suggests they all indulge in the hot spring, cutting to later that night where the girls all decompress. Azusa points out how Beelzebub is like an older sister. Flafa and Shalsha are her daughters. Laika is her younger sister, and Halkara is the troublesome junior. Having returned home, the gang find it strange hearing Halkara asking to do her chores earlier in the week, all convinced that Halkara has finally decided to move to Nazcute. With Halkara returning late that night, the gang throws Halkara a final goodbye party, but Halkara reveals that she is simply building another factory in Nazcute. With days passing, the gang notices Halkara always leaving bright and early only to come home late, something Azusa orders Halkara to avoid, but Halkara can't help it. Apparently, a ghost had appeared near her factory, and her factory is low on workers, creatures known as bound or separated spirits. Ghosts normally pass away and can't leave their home, prompting Halkara to beg Azusa to help her, something Azusa can't refuse seeing her adorable pupil desperate. The next day, Azusa makes use of a summoning circle, accidentally summoning Beelzebub into the bathtub instead of the summoning circle. When Beelzebub is asked to help out with removing the ghost, the sisters charm Beelzebub into agreeing, all waiting until night only to head to the town of Nazcute. At first glance, Halkara's factory is quite creepy, especially with the weird cat statue she placed outside. Nonetheless, Beelzebub takes the lead, allowing Azusa to hold her hand, followed by Halkara tagging along. With our trio heading to the most common room of the ghost sighting, Beelzebub gets annoyed seeing how cowardly Azusa and Halkara are, ordering the ghost hiding to show herself. As Beelzebub threatens to incinerate the entire factory if the ghost refuses to appear, Beelzebub spots a chair moving, rushing over to apprehend the ghost. Turning on the lights, the girls greet Rosalie, the ghost of a girl who took her own life. Rosalie revealed that when she was alive, she was a noble, kind, and polite person, but after being sold off by her parents, Rosalie gave up on life and ultimately became a ghost. Azusa asks what Rosalie plans to do with the rest of her life, annoying Beelzebub when Rosalie says she doesn't know. Instead, Beelzebub offers to erase Rosalie from their world. Rosalie quickly begs for her life, stating that she won't bother Halkara and her duties, but Rosalie points out she is unable to leave the factory. Beelzebub points out that Rosalie will be able to bypass any restrictions if she possesses a human and uses them as a vessel, but the human must be weak and easy to control. Unanimously turning to Halkara, Halkara is strapped to a chair, reminded that she is giving her body to save her factory. Giving it a go, Rosalie enters Halkara's body, amazed that the possession worked, but is more fixated on Halkara's assets. Azusa suggests that they move Rosalie to their home, wanting to give Rosalie the life she never got when she was alive, a remark that makes Rosalie cry, swearing to be Azusa's sister for life. Introducing Rosalie to everyone else, Beelzebub chooses to head to sleep first, leaving Rosalie to show everyone what she can do. Sadly, Rosalie fails to leave Halkara's body, something Beelzebub believes is due to Rosalie and Halkara's perfect compatibility. Beelzebub points out that Halkara will lose her body if Rosalie spends too long in her, and sadly Rosalie can't take her life since it would mean Halkara will pass as well. Brainstorming some ideas, the girls first try shaking Rosalie out, failing only to try and knock Rosalie out, but when that doesn't work, the gang tries scaring Rosalie out. Up in the sky, Laika flies Rosalie up very high, trying to scare Rosalie out, but she fails to separate from Halkara's body. Next, Laika flips upside down, dumping Rosalie to fall to her doom, but catches her before she hits the ground. Trying various tactics, the gang tries scaring Rosalie with demonic summons, tying and sending her down a river, and even getting a priest to try and separate them, but ultimately no luck. Seeing as they're running out of time, Azusa wonders if Halkara will return if Rosalie is put to sleep, pouring a glass of wine only to have Rosalie drink it. In an instant, Rosalie knocks out, allowing Halkara to reclaim her body, having not remembered anything since she was possessed. Now all the gang needs to do is wake Rosalie up as well, prompting Beelzebub to toss Rosalie into an ice bath, ejecting Rosalie from Halkara. Now officially welcomed into the family, Rosalie apologizes for causing all the rumors at Halkara's factory, but when Rosalie shows off her psychic abilities to move things with her mind, Azusa gets an idea. Heading back to Nazcute, Rosalie clears up any evil hauntings by helping to clean up the town, forever grateful to Azusa, seeing as she has found new purpose even after death. A few days later, Beelzebub announces that Azusa will be receiving a Demon Medal of Honor, praise for ending the dispute between the red and blue dragons. With Azusa accepting the award, the gang are shocked to hear the ceremony will be held in the demon realm, reassured by Beelzebub that demons are well-mannered creatures, and as long as they all show respect, there should be no issues. As the gang all collectively watch Halkara scoffing down her food, Halkara is later seen quivering at the thought of being around demons, wondering if she could fake being sick on the day. Azusa announces that they'll need formal dresses, asking if Rosalie would need to buy a new dress, but realizes that neither them nor Rosalie knows how to change out of her clothing. With Shaosha suggesting to visit a ghost specialist, the gang head to a strange hut in the woods, learning from an old man that the appearance of a ghost along with its clothes can't be changed since it's a manifestation of her past life. Heading into town, the gang wonder if Rosalie can reimagine a new outfit, something Rosalie says she can't. When Rosalie reassures everyone she'll be fine wearing the same clothes for the rest of her life, Azusa asks Rosalie to be more honest with herself, happy to hear Rosalie would like to wear a dress like everyone else. Getting to work, Azusa makes use of her create magic spell, working through the night to come up with a solution for Rosalie. The next morning, Azusa asks Rosalie to imagine herself wearing a dress, asking Rosalie to believe in her. With days passing by, Rosalie imagines a world where she has donned the dress Azusa has shown her, giving Azusa space to work on a new spell, only to have Rosalie and herself stand in different magic circles with the dress placed in the middle. Channeling mana into the magic circle, Rosalie is encased with magic, re-emerging with an outfit change fit for a ceremony. Azusa says she had worked on a spell that changed her image of Rosalie, but suddenly a massive floating creature appears, having been called by Beelzebub to pick up the girls for the ceremony. Beelzebub mentions their ride is a Leviathan, all amazed to see the creature house a building on its back. As the gang explores the luxury rooms provided, Beelzebub is proud to announce they have their own hot spring, but suddenly demands to know why one of her employees is slacking off. Apologizing and introducing herself as Vania the Leviathan, Vania gets dressed all whilst Beelzebub warns the gang not to bathe in the demon hot spring too long as the waters will melt them. Meeting back up with Vania, Vania reveals that her older sister Fatla is currently carrying them, and that Fatla and herself normally take turns to transport passengers and serve the guest meals. Vania takes the chance to announce their meals will primarily be poultry, all admiring the surrounding view as Beelzebub wraps up a tour of the building. As they all head to dinner, Vania serves up various poultry and vegetable dishes, impressing everyone as they admire the valuable ingredients used to create such dishes. With the gang decompressing in the hot spring, they all head to bed, but outside we spot Rosalie admiring the view. Looking off into the endless abyss that is the demon realm, Rosalie notices Halkara has woken up, having wanted some fresh air. Rosalie thanks Halkara once again for helping her explore the greater world, but Halkara reminds Rosalie that their family and such things are natural, heading off to take another bath before going to bed. The next morning, Azusa is glad to see everyone in such high spirits, horrified upon learning that Halkara was last heard visiting the hot spring while sleepy. Luckily, Halkara had fallen asleep under the bed. Cutting to later that morning, where Beelzebub introduces everyone to the royal capital of Vanzeld, mentioning how the gang will first meet the Demon King before the ceremony. Scared stiff, Azusa double-checks she wasn't hearing things, horrified upon confirming that they're heading to meet the Demon King now. Landing in the city of Vanzald, the gang are escorted by carriage, spotting all types of demons that resemble both humans and animals. Arriving at Vanzald Castle, Azusa finds an excuse to avoid meeting the Demon King, but Beelzebub reminds everyone that the Demon King wants to personally meet them. Upon entering the castle, the gang spot a maze-like structure, learning that the maze is meant to trick attackers or intruders, but luckily Beelzebub has no issues escorting everyone through the maze. Now in front of the throne room, Beelzebub reassures everyone that the Demon King is quite easygoing, opening a pair of massive doors, only to lay eyes on the jaw-dropping throne room. Before the gang can reach the center of the room, a small demon girl excitedly greets everyone, first shaking Azusa's hand only to move on to Halkara. Having accidentally squeezed too tight, the demon girl heals Halkara, but Halkara asks that the demon girl leave them alone, fearing that the Demon King is waiting for them. Leica points out how the throne is currently vacant, all hearing as Beelzebub announces that the Demon King is standing right in front of them, revealed to be the demon girl, Demon King Provapicaralies. Immediately bowing her head, Halkara apologizes for being so rude, relieved to hear Pakara won't take anything to heart. Rushing to raise her head, Halkara accidentally knocks out Pakara with a head, but prompting the demon's guards to surround the girls as Halkara is ultimately imprisoned, set to be executed and her village may be offered as collateral. With the gang locked up as well, they quiver learning that they may be punished as well, but Azusa remembers Beelzebub suggesting that the gang wake up Pakara as only the Demon King can overturn sentences. Creating a plan, Azusa first gathers some hot water and tea set. Next, Azusa has Rosalie scout their surroundings, confirming that a garden is nearby that may house the plants Azusa is looking for. Having Leica transform into a cuter-looking dragon form, Leica is sent out to retrieve several plants, allowing Azusa to create an analeptic drink that will wake Pakora up. At that moment, Vania is seen clinging onto their window, having been sent by Beelzebub to relay a map for the gang to locate the sleeping Demon King. Upon hearing that Pakora is resting in the first aid room, Vania hands Azusa a devilish doctor disguise, annoying Azusa as she thinks Vania is toying with her. With Vania personally guiding Azusa through the castle, Vania notes how she didn't want to get involved, but Beelzebub had ordered her to assist. Making it to the first aid room, Vania is stopped by several high-ranking demons, demanding to know who Vania has brought, but seeing Vania struggling to come up with an alias and Beelzebub ignoring them, Azusa has no choice but to shed her disguise, announcing herself as the Witch of the Highlands. As several demons rush to restrain Azusa, Azusa instantly knocks them out with a single punch, forcing several demon mages to gather, simultaneously blasting Azusa with magic. Unfazed by the demon's magic, Azusa wipes out the enemies, impressing Beelzebub as Azusa could do some crazy things if she chooses to. Finally entering Pakora's resting area, Azusa prepares to drip-feed Pakora her medicine, but is stunned to see Pakora suddenly wakes up. Having detected a strange substance near her, Pakora had instinctively awoken, demanding to know what Azusa was trying to feed her. Hearing Azusa reassure her it was just medicine to make Pakora feel better, Pakora leaps out of bed, demanding to duel Azusa to prove Azusa is not an assassin. With Pakora wielding a sword, they both head outside, prompting Pakora to make the first move. Having dodged Pakora's first slash, Azusa speeds up, spotting hundreds of more slashes aimed at her. Seeing as Pakora is slowly dicing away at her clothing, Azusa is forced to relinquish her hat to avoid a lethal blow. Seeing Azusa running away, Pakora reminds Azusa that her elf friend's life is on the line, triggering Azusa as she dodges Perkera's barrage of slashes only to leap over her. Warning Pakora to not toy with her family, Azusa rushes in close, igniting her fist, which forces Pakora to defend with her sword. With Pakora losing grip of her blade, she is smashed into the nearby castle, realizing her blade has been shattered by Azusa's fist. Cornering Pakora, Azusa declares that she has won, forcing Pakora to agree to spare Halkara. Surprisingly, Pakora deems Azusa her new sister, having always wanted a sister to boss her around, and had only tested Azusa to see if she fit the role. Weirded out, Azusa chooses to dominate Pakura, ordering Pakura to release Halkara at once. Listening to Azusa, Pakura officially rids Halkara of any crimes, impressing Beelzebub as Pakura has taken a liking to Azusa. Sitting down for some tea, Azusa is forced to listen to Pakura recount dreams of one day serving someone, annoyed that Beelzebub refused to talk down to her. Pakura takes the chance to ask Azusa to give her a kiss, wanting to recreate a love scene between a tale of two sisters sharing their affection. But Azusa states she can hug Pakura at most. Choosing to beg, Pakura ultimately convinces Azusa to kiss her cheeks. But when Azusa performs the kiss, the others suddenly stumble into the room, accusing Azusa of fiending over girls. Pissed, Pakura orders the execution of Azusa's party for ruining the mood. But the sisters take the chance to ask for a kiss of their own, prompting the sisters to kiss Azusa in return. Seeing Azusa hugging everyone, Pakura concedes, clasping onto Azusa, only to reveal the ceremony tomorrow has a surprise for them. The next day, various prestigious demons gather for the ceremony, amazing the girls as they dress to impress. Kicking off the ceremony, Pakura starts by announcing the recipients of the demon medals, ultimately landing on Azusa as Azusa is given a medal in the peace category. Surprisingly, Pakura calls Laika to the stage as well as Flatort, awarding all 3 demon medals only to force Flatort to promise to never break their treaty. Seeing as demons are multiracial and prestigious, Pakura asks Azusa to stroke Flatort's horns. Seeing Flatort agitated, Azusa learns that blue dragons only allow their masters to touch their horn, but seeing as it is to hold up their peace, Flatort gives in. Kneeling down, Flatort feels ashamed to allow Azusa to touch her horn, declaring that she has now submitted to Azusa herself. That evening, the gang ride back on the Leviathan, noticing that Fatla is now serving them. Azusa does wonder why Flatort is riding home with them, learning that since she is now Flatort's master, Flatort must accompany Azusa wherever she goes. As Fatla returns with some drinks, she accidentally trips, forcing Flatort to intercept, getting doused in order to protect Azusa. Heading to clean off, Azusa hears that the blue dragons normally serve dragon knights, swearing complete loyalty to their masters. Seeing Flatort so lifeless, Azusa orders Flatort to live for herself, stating that Flatort is finally free from her ancestry. Heading outside, Flatort asks Azusa to spoil her with some head pats, annoying Laika as she drags Flatort away from Azusa. As Laika and Flatort fight, the others listen in on their bickering, all whilst Azusa thinks about how they have a new family member. On a bright and sunny day, Azusa enjoys the peaceful atmosphere, only to hear Laika and Flatort fighting downstairs. Heading downstairs, Azusa demands to know what all the commotion is about, learning that the girls had simply been arguing over whose cookies were better. Rosalie explains that since the girls swore to never fight physically, they choose to face off with their cooking, leaving Azusa to decide the victor. Upon tasting both of their dishes, Azusa states both are equally as good, but off to the side, the other girls suspect that dragon girls get quite angry after not eating fresh meat in a while. At that moment, Natalie visits, mentioning how there is an overabundance of longhammer boars roaming the Nika forest, showing them a quest involving said boars that normal adventurers can't accept. At first, Azusa refuses since she doesn't need any more money, but Natalie mentions how boars aren't monsters and are instead animals that can be harvested for meat. Eager to eat meat, Flatort and Laika beg Azusa to accept the quest, something Azusa can't refuse as it'll make the dragon girls less agitated around each other. Immediately setting out to the Nika forest, Flatort and Rika are in high spirits, but Azusa notes how the terrain is steep, favoring the boars. Having left the more frail girls at home, Rosalie appears to report her findings up ahead, mentioning how there are 15 boars gathered near a river. Brimming with excitement, Flatort rushes towards the direction of the boars, but ends up getting caught by the various branches, annoyed that her clothes are getting in her way. Coming up with a solution, Flatort strips, rushing towards the river only to return embarrassed, having been spotted by several female adventurers. Choosing to put back on the bare minimum, Flatort rushes back towards a river, forcing the others to give chase this time. Confused to see the boars have stripped Flatort. Unable to retrieve her clothes, Flatort is forced to watch her clothes float down the river, giving in to her wild side as she takes the boars naked. As Azusa and the other girls join in, they rack up a pile of boar corpses, all sitting down to devour some roasted boar steaks. Happy to see the dragon girls satiating their urges, the gang spot Beelzebub and Vania flying by, having been sent to check out the boar situation as well, but instead retrieve Flatort's lost clothes. Seeing as there is enough for the entire family, Azusa holds a little gathering, all devouring the infinite supply of boar before them. That night, whilst everyone is fast asleep, Azusa speaks with Laika and Flatort, happy to hear the girls have calmed down after their boar hunt. Azusa learns that the girls were initially fighting to see who could spend the night with her, resolving said issue by allowing both girls to share the bed with her. Azusa states that she'll play the role of the big sister. Flatort is the middle sister, and Laika is the younger sister. As the girls head off to sleep, Azusa awakens in the middle of the night, noticing the dragon girls have vanished only to discover they've snuck off to have a midnight snack. Heading over to Halkera's Nazcute factory the next day, Azusa is praised for helping out at the factory, overhearing some of the workers mention that someone is impersonating and claiming to be the Witch of the Highlands. Reporting the news to the others, the girls immediately call the execution of this imposter, but Azusa says she simply wants to point out the wrongdoings of this impersonator. Splitting up, Azusa and Laika head west, noticing some sort of event happening, but Laika suggests they visit a tavern to get some intel. Upon entering the tavern, the girls are called pigs by the owner, realizing the theme of the bar is for sadistic women to insult their customers, something that their customers deeply enjoy. When Azusa asks the store owner for some intel, Azusa and Laika are forced to work a bid in exchange for the information, both taking turns insulting the customers. Having completed their agreement, the girls are told to head north, noticing a crowd forming in town. Upon confirming that the crowd have gathered around the impersonator, the girls listen in as an older lady claims herself to be the Witch of the Highlands, yet she is unable to give the crowd any medicine. Taking center stage, Azusa calls out the old lady's lies, demanding the lady challenge her, but suddenly realizes the old lady has fled. With Laika helping track down the lady, Azusa chooses to cast a binding spell, forcing the imposter to shed her disguise, revealed to be a young girl. Returning to her home, the young girl introduces herself as Ino the Witch, someone who also dabbles in medicine creation. Ino shows her some mandragora pills she's invented, meant to release exhaustion and eye strain, but Azusa wonders why Ino doesn't sell her products to the public. Ino states that as a witch, she doesn't want to draw too much attention to herself, suggesting that someone else should help market and sell the product. Laika points out how inconsistent Ino is, wanting to remain humble as a witch yet make a living by selling her product, but Azusa helps clear up the misunderstanding. Azusa states that although Ino is a witch, she is still human, meaning her contradictory morals are to be expected. Amazed that Azusa understands her, Ino cries that she wants people to recognize her talents, wishing for the day a bronze statue of herself is created in her hometown. Happy to see Ino so honest, Azusa chooses to help Ino out, cutting to the next day where the gang visit a marketplace, spotting Ino all dressed up to sell her product, having disguised herself to avoid the stage fright. At the same time, Azusa spots Laika and Flatort selling her cookie for profit as well, weirded out to see the sadistic tavern owner has set up shop as well. With Ino's store popping off, we cut to several days later where Azusa is happy to hear Ino's pills are slowly growing in popularity, making Halkera wonder if there is a business opportunity to be made. As Azusa whips up a meal for the family, she is suddenly called by Shalsha, both rushing upstairs only to spot slime has invaded their home. Before Azusa can slay the slide, Shalsha reveals that the slime is Flafa, having just woken up to see her sister has become a slime. With the gang gathering around Falfa, they rack their brains for a way to turn Falfa back, wondering if Falfa can simply transform back to her human form. Sadly, Shalsha says slime spirits can do no such thing, making Azusa wonder if she'll need to create a spell to solve this rare scenario. Summoning Beelzebub once again. Beelzebub is heartbroken to learn Falfa has become a slime, revealing that Azusa should consult the intelligent slime that resides in the Demon Castle. With Laika helping escort the gang to the Demon Castle, Beelzebub leads them deeper underground to where the intelligent slime is, embarrassed to admit that she had forgotten how to navigate the maze-like castle. Having made it back to the surface, the gang are greeted by Pakura, asking for a kiss from Azusa, only to point the gang to a nearby shed where Beelzebub unearths a hidden passage, ultimately making it to the intelligent slime's lair. Seeing a board filled with words hung up on the wall, they learn the slimes use it to communicate, prompting Beelzebub to ask if the intelligent slime knows how to revert Falfa back to her human form. The intelligent slime states that the gang should visit the tallest mountain in the Temuriana province, where a magician slime will help with their problem. But seeing as it's getting late, Azusa says they'll resume searching tomorrow, giving the intelligent slime the nickname of Intelli. Returning home, Azusa helps feed Falfa some vegetables, relaxing with a warm bath only to head to the designated location the next day. Upon knocking on the home of the magician slime, Azusa is greeted by a young girl. Surprised to hear the magician slime is the girl, having used transformation magic to take the form of a human. Heading inside, Azusa gives the magician slime the nickname of Meiji, asking for help with Falfa's issue. Borrowing Falfa, Meiji stuffs her face into Falfa's body, figuring out that Falfa had turned into a slime due to her damaging a muscle when sleeping, suggesting the gang visit Fighter Slime, as transformation magic will only temporarily solve the issue. Meiji points the gang towards the southern town of Kelni, learning that Fighty the fighting slime is obsessed with growing stronger, having entered a fighting tournament, prompting Azusa to suggest she join and force Fighty to help them. The next day, the gang visit Kelni, surprised to see lots of buff men are lining up to participate in the tournament, even spotting Beelzebub disguised as to not draw too much attention. With both girls entering the tournament, both Azusa and Beelzebub easily progress to the semi-finals, but when Azusa gets pumped to face Fighty in the finals, Azusa spots Beelzebub defeating Fighty in the semi-finals, losing all motivation to continue participating. With only Azusa and Beelzebub's match left, Azusa is happy to see Fighty help restore Falfa to her human form, promising to win as to not let her family down. Seeing as it's the perfect stage for their rematch, both girls get serious, exciting Beelzebub as she rushes forward with a sneak attack. Reading her movements, Azusa attempts to counter, watching as Beelzebub spreads her wings to fly and evade, surprising onlookers as they fail to realize Beelzebub is a demon. Azusa asks that Beelzebub attack her face-on. Shocked to hear Beelzebub is aware of several weak points on Azusa, but seeing Beelzebub still hesitant to attack, Azusa is forced to taunt Beelzebub. Angry, Beelzebub dives head first at Azusa, but as the smoke clears, it's revealed that Azusa had stopped the attack by grasping onto Beelzebub's cheeks. Now on even footing, Azusa dashes in close for a punch, blocked by Beelzebub, who retaliates with a flurry of attacks. As both girls exchange equal blows, Beelzebub declares Azusa as a worthy rival, but Azusa can't help but notice Beelzebub growing weaker the longer they fight. Not wanting to finish off Beelzebub, Azusa suddenly hears Falfa proudly cheering her on, giving her the strength to finish the duel. As Beelzebub charges in for the finishing blow, Azusa slips her punch, finishing Beelzebub off as Azusa is declared the ultimate winner. With Beelzebub admitting defeat to Azusa, she asks for another duel in the future, pointing out how her victory today has given her more attention. That evening, Azusa thanks Fighty once again for curing Falfa, surprised to hear that Fighty is obsessed with growing stronger and earning lots of money. Fighty takes the chance to ask to be Azusa's student, amazed to see Azusa decimate her opponent even without any martial arts knowledge. When Azusa refuses, Fighty's asked to at least have a duel, both heading outside for their match. Before Fighty can land a punch, Fighty senses Azusa's aura, realizing that Azusa had slain countless slimes in the past. Having fallen unconscious, Fighty wakes up realizing a slime like her is not worthy to be Azusa's student, suddenly noticing Beelzebub showing up. Fidi instead asks to be Beelzebub's student, who is forced to take Fidi in upon seeing Azusa and the Slime sisters begging her to.